Fraud has always been one of the biggest, most expensive problems in the telecom industry. Whether it's SIM box fraud, fake registrations, or even internal collusion, operators across Africa lose millions of dollars every year. But what's changing now is how they're fighting back. And the biggest shift isn't about hiring more people or writing stricter rules. It's artificial intelligence. Today, AI is becoming one of the most powerful tools for detecting and preventing fraud in real time. And here's the interesting part, it is no longer just the big players like MTN or Vodacom. Smaller operators, regional internet providers, and even local voice-over IP companies are adopting AI-powered systems. Why? Because they've realized that fraud is now faster, smarter, and more automated than ever before. And only AI can truly keep up. Let's talk about what's really happening on the ground. To understand why AI is such a game changer, we first need to look at why fraud became so hard to fight. Traditional fraud detection relied heavily on fixed rules and manual checks. A system would notice something odd, an engineer would have to pull the logs, someone would investigate, someone else would escalate it, and then a whole team would decide what to do. By the time all that happened, the fraudster was long gone, the money was already lost, and the whole cycle would just repeat itself. But the real turning point was when fraudsters started using automation themselves. Suddenly, we were seeing irregular call patterns that were impossible to predict, rapid SIM swaps happening in minutes, and dozens of short-duration calls that looked like machine activity. They were spoofing identities, hacking routers to bypass international call gateways, cloning SIMs remotely, and using bots to generate fake traffic. All at once, the old-school systems couldn't keep up. The fraud moved too fast, changed its methods too often, and appeared completely random to a human analyst. That's where AI came in. So how does AI detect fraud differently? Well, it doesn't rely on a fixed list of rules. Instead, it learns what normal behavior looks like across the entire network, and then it flags anything that deviates from that baseline. For example, it can spot a SIM card making calls from Lagos in the morning and then suddenly from Nairobi just 20 minutes later, an impossible journey. It can detect an account that starts generating huge traffic spikes at odd hours, or call durations that perfectly match a bypass pattern. It can see thousands of WhatsApp verification requests coming from the same IP address, or sudden device swaps that don't match a user's history. AI is able to analyze millions of these data points in seconds and catch these anomalies the moment they happen, not 2 days later when the damage is done. So, let us break down the biggest areas where African telecoms are using AI right now, not the theoretical stuff you hear about at conferences, but actual, real-world use cases. First up is SIM box fraud. This is a massive issue. Fraudsters use devices called SIM boxes to terminate international calls and make them look like local calls, so they can pocket the difference in price. This costs African operators millions, and regulators hate it because it also affects tax revenue. AI systems now fight this by looking at call behavior, SIM rotation patterns, unique voice signatures, and impossible user behavior like that Lagos to Nairobi example. When the AI sees signs of a SIM box, it can block the SIMs instantly or flag it for a human with over 90% accuracy. Even smaller internet service providers are now using these tools because fraudsters are targeting them more aggressively. Next, we have fake or fraudulent SIM registrations. This used to be a huge loophole. People would register SIM cards with fake ID numbers or use the same identity to activate dozens of SIMs for illegal activities. AI-powered identity verification tools now check biometrics, perform facial matching against a database, spot duplicate identities, and even detect forged documents. The system can identify and stop a suspicious registration in real time, before the SIM card is even activated. Another major area is international call bypass and IP fraud. This is where fraudsters hijack traffic before it even hits the international gateway, or they spoof caller IDs to hide their tracks. They run complex routing patterns that are almost impossible for a human to track manually. AI uses traffic modeling to spot anomalies in the routing, and natural call paths, and mismatched caller ID information. This has helped smaller African telecoms dramatically reduce revenue leakage. Then there's mobile money and fintech fraud. This is a huge and growing area. With mobile money dominating payments in East and West Africa, fraud has moved to digital wallets, transfers, and loans. AI helps telecoms detect rapid multi-account transfers, suspicious withdrawals, and abnormal wallet activity. It can spot cloned or hijacked accounts and even stop transactions mid-process if the risk score hits a certain threshold. We also see AI tackling subscription fraud and fake activations. This is where fraudsters use compromised accounts to activate expensive services that generate revenue for them. AI looks for bot-like subscription attempts, repeated failed activations, and suspicious bulk requests, helping telecoms stop these unnecessary revenue losses before they pile up. Finally, there's the one nobody likes to talk about publicly: internal fraud. Sometimes, the threat isn't coming from outside, it's coming from within. This includes employees doing unauthorized SIM swaps, manipulating account balances, or tampering with customer data. AI can track employee behavior and flag when someone tries to access systems or perform actions outside their usual pattern. Smaller operators are adopting these tools because a single case of insider fraud can hit them the hardest. So why is AI becoming so popular, even among smaller telecoms in Africa? There are three main reasons. First, it's cheaper now. Cloud-based fraud detection platforms mean you don't need to build a massive, expensive infrastructure. You can pay as you go. A small operator can deploy an AI solution in days, not months. Second, the cost of fraud is now far greater than the cost of the AI. A single SIM box operator can cost a small internet provider thousands of dollars a week. In that context, an AI system pays for itself very quickly. And third, competition is rising. Users expect security, and regulators demand compliance. Doing nothing is no longer an option. So how does this all work inside a telecom network? It's not some magic black box. The process is pretty straightforward. The AI systems collect anonymized network data, analyze patterns continuously, and learn what normal behavior looks like for each user, device, and service. When it detects an anomaly, it scores the risk and can either trigger an automatic block or send an alert to an engineer. Instead of drowning in raw data logs, engineers get clear dashboards that explain what's happening. And over time, the AI learns the network better than any human team ever could. And this isn't just theory. We're seeing real success stories across the continent. An East African operator reduced SIM box fraud by 80% using AI to match call audio signatures. A West African internet provider is blocking hundreds of fake registrations every week with AI-powered identity checks. A North African operator caught an internal fraud case when AI flagged an employee attempting unauthorized SIM swaps. And a Southern African operator detected mobile money fraud in real time, freezing the account instantly. These aren't pilot projects anymore. This is happening every single day. So why does all of this matter for the future? Because fraud is evolving. Fraudsters are becoming more technical, networks are getting more complex, and money is increasingly digital. AI gives operators a fighting chance by changing the game from being reactive to proactive. Instead of asking, "What just happened?" telecoms can now ask, "What's about to happen, and how do we stop it?" For smaller operators and ISPs across Africa, AI is the great equalizer, allowing them to secure their networks and compete with larger telcos without needing huge teams or massive budgets. AI isn't here to replace engineers. It's here to reduce the noise, the workload, and the chaos. It gives telecom teams more time to focus on strategic work instead of chasing ghosts in the data. The telecoms in Africa that adopt AI early will be the ones that become more reliable, more secure, and more trusted. The ones that wait will be playing catch-up while quietly losing revenue every single month. Fraud isn't slowing down. But thankfully, neither is AI. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content like this. See you in the next one.